In this video, I want to have a look at dot plots. So dot plots are another way of graphing data or displaying data, and they show how many times each score occurs. So there's one dot for each score. Dot plots are useful because they show us if there's any outliers, so any numbers that are much bigger or much smaller than the bulk of the data. They show us if there's any gaps in the data or if there's any clusters, so any areas where, or any scores, where there's lots of numbers all grouped together. And they show us how the data is spread out over those scores as well. So let's have a look at how you can draw a dot plot. So we're asked to draw a dot plot for the data below. A die is rolled and the results are listed there. So the lowest number we have in there is a 1 and the highest is a 6. So when we're drawing our scale, it needs to go from 1 to 6. Now just make sure that all your scores are evenly spaced out as well. And then we're going to have number rolled as the title of that axis. Now for each of these scores, we're going to put one dot above that number. So for the 4, we're going to put one dot above the 4. And we've crossed that one out. Then we'll put one above the 6. Now when we're doing this, we need to make sure that all of our dots are about the same size and that they're all evenly spaced apart as well. So when we start going up. So we've got another 4 here, so I'm going to put another dot above the 4. Got a 1. Oh, see this one is a little bit higher than it should be. So that's a mistake. Move it back down so it's in line with these other ones. 2, 3, so I've just tried to compensate there. I've made that column of 3 the same height as these columns of 3 just by squishing them up a little bit, but you should be trying to space them out evenly so that you can see which columns are taller and which ones are shorter. Got another 6. All right. So once we have our dot plot drawn, we can answer questions about the data. For example, the most common number rolled would be a 4 because 4 has the most number of dots above it. It's the highest column. We could be asked, how many times did I roll a number less than 3? And I'd say I've got 6 because I've got 6 dots in the 1 and the 2 column. So you can start analysing data. So let's have a look at an example of that. So we've got a music store recorded the daily sales figures of a particular CD while it was popular and displayed the results in a dot plot. So for example, on this one here, we've got 3 days where they sold 12 of those CDs. We've got 1 day where they sold 16. There were no days where they sold exactly 17. So let's have a look at the questions. On how many days were exactly 13 CDs sold? If we look at the 13, there's 2 dots above it. So that would be 2 days where exactly 13 CDs were sold. On how many days was this data collected? Well, we've got 3 days where there were 12. We've got 2 days where there were 13, so we've got 5 so far. So what we're going to do to answer this question is we're going to count how many dots there are in total. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And what was the greatest number of CDs sold in a single day? Just be really careful. This one's the one that trips people up. We're not looking at the highest column. That just tells us how many days there were 14 CDs sold, and that 14 was the most common number of CDs to sell. But the most number of CDs sold in a single day was 18, because 18 is the highest number that still has a dot above it. So 18 CDs were sold in a single day, and that's our highest number. So that's having a look at dot plots.